Okay, in this lesson, we are going to talk about how to solve quadratics with factoring. So if you can remember the factoring that we did in the last unit, we are going to add more on to the end of the problems. And the part we're going to add on to the end of the problems, we're going to use the zero product property to help us do that. So what does this property tell us? It says that if you're multiplying 2 items together, 3 items together, 4 items together, however many, in our case, we're going to multiply 2 here, A and B, and the answer is 0, then that tells you that either A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. So let's try to apply that into the next situation. Okay, on this one, you're going to notice that this one has already been factored. Yay! Because it's already set up into the 2 sets of parentheses. So once you've done the factoring portion, this is what you're going to do. You're going to say, okay, what does the first parentheses have to equal so that I get 0 as an answer? So I just take the first parentheses, set it equal to 0, move the 9 over. So I would say x equals positive 9. Because positive 9 minus 9 gives me 0. That is the only number I could plug into that parentheses that would make x become 0. So now let's do the same thing for the other parentheses. So 5x plus 4 equals 0. Subtract the 4 over. So 5x equals negative 4. Divide by 5. And so we get x to equal negative 4/5. And that is the only number you could plug into that one that would make it become 0. Okay, so now let's see what we remember from our last unit. Okay, first thing you want to do is all terms on the same side. On number 2, yes, because it equals 0. So as long as it always equals 0, you're good to go. Does it have a GCF? No, no GCF, so we don't have to worry about that. So then let's just go through and list our product, which would be 1 times 24. Our sum, which is negative 11. That's the middle. So what multiplies for positive 24 that will add for negative 11? If you don't know it, make the list. If you do know it, fantastic. Should be negative 8 and negative 3. So then I'm going to make myself the box again. And then first term is x squared. Put in our factors, which is negative 8x, negative 3x, and last term, which is 24. First one, up and down, they have an x in common. Then you can keep doing GCF, or you can switch to multiplication. This one is negative 8, this is x, and this is negative 3. So you're looking at x minus 8 and x minus 3 equals 0. And this is what we did in our last unit. So now the solving part is once you get to here, just take each parentheses, set it equal to 0, and then solve for the letter x. So add 8, so I get x equals positive 8. Add 3, and I get x equals positive 3. Done. Okay, let's go to the next one. Up on this one, not all terms are on the same side. Okay, so if it doesn't equal 0, you got to start by moving terms. You got to move everything to the same side. So I'm going to take this minus 40 and move it over. And I don't have anything to combine it with, so I'm just going to put it at the end, and when I move it over, it has to become a positive 40 equals 0. Next thing we always say is, does it have a GCF? And then hopefully you're going to say, yes, it does have a GCF. And this GCF is 2. So that will give me 2x to the third plus 13x plus 20. Okay, product would be 2 times 20, which is 40. Sum is 13. What multiplies for 40 that adds for 13? If you know it, great. If not, make the list. You should come up with positive 8 and positive 5. So now I'm going to make my box. 2x squared. And then I'm going to put in 8x and 5x and last term, which is 20. Okay, so on the outside we'll have x, 2x, 4, and 5. So don't forget we had a GCF, so here's my GCF 2, so keep that. And then x plus 4 and 2x plus 5 equals 0. So on the new part, set each part equal to 0. So GCF equals 0. First parentheses equals 0. Second parentheses equals 0. With my GCF, it says 2 equals x, or I'm sorry, 2 equals 0. There is no x there to solve for. So since there's no variable to solve for, that does not count as an answer. Okay, so if it doesn't have a letter out there with it, it doesn't count. So then we're going to move 4 over by subtracting it. So x equals a negative 4. Then we're going to subtract 5, and we get 2x equals a negative 5. Divide by 2, so we get x to equal negative 5 halves. So my two answers are negative 4 and negative 5 halves. Okay. Does it equal 0? Yes. Does it have a GCF? Yes. So we can take out a 4. So then I get x squared minus 25 equals 0. Product is negative 25. Sum is 0. Remember, if the middle's not listed, it is 0. So what multiplies for negative 25 that adds for 0? Well, that would be negative 5 and positive 5. So here's my box. X squared, negative 5x, positive 5x, and negative 25. X, negative 5, positive 5. So I'm going to keep my GCF, which was a 4. My first parentheses is x minus 5 and x plus 5. Set the GCF equal to 0. First parentheses equal to 0. Second parentheses equal to 0. GCF, there is no letter there with the 4 to solve for, so it doesn't give me an answer. Add 5, so my first answer is 5. Subtract 5, so my second answer is negative 5. Okay, last one. Does not equal 0, so we do have to move some terms around. So I'm going to start by moving terms. So I'm going to add 3x to the third, and I'm going to line that up underneath its like term. And then I'm going to subtract 10x, and I'm going to line that up under its like term. So that will give me 5x to the third minus 35x to the second plus 60x equals 0. Does it have a GCF? Yes, it does have a GCF. We can take out a 5 and an x. So then I got 5x parentheses x squared minus 7x plus 12 equals 0. So product is 12. Sum is -7. What multiplies for 12 that adds for -7? Well, that would be -4 and -3. So I'm going to make my box x to the second, -4x, -3x, and 12. So I can take out an x, a -4, an x, a -3. Okay, so keep your GCF, which was a 5x, and then we got x minus 4 and x minus 3. Take your GCF and set it equal to 0. Take your first parentheses, set it equal to 0. Take your second parentheses, set it equal to 0. This time, when you look at a GCF, it has an x with it. So if I want to get x by itself, we're going to divide by 5. And 0 divided by anything is 0. The next one, we're going to add 4. So x equals 4. And on the last one, we're going to add 3. So we get x to equal +3. Now, wait a minute. This problem has 3 answers, and all the rest of our problems only had 2 answers. So how do I know by just looking at the problem how many answers it should have? Well, let's go up here, and if you look at number 4, what was the highest exponent in the problem? The highest exponent equals 2, so we had 2 answers. If you look at this problem, our highest exponent is 3. So that tells me I should have 3 answers. So if you want to know how many answers you're looking at, make sure you look at the highest exponent, and that will tell you. And we're finished.